my. Hang on 1 second. There we go. Still trying to get stuff. Hang on. Live chat. Maybe. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Oh, no, I can't see my chat, and I don't know why. Welcome to your chat. That's great. Learn more. No. Hey, somebody said, hey, I have connection. All right. Sweet. I was having troubles. Okay. Because Mercury's in retrograde and it's fun. What? I hate Mercury retrograde. This one has been killer. Like all of my electronics have shit out. Like, I'm glad I backed up my computer. My computer is fine, but it gave me the black screen of death, you know? And then my washing machine, I had to call a repairman for the washing machine. And then my keyboard at work went to crap. And I'm like, can anything else possibly break with this Mercury retrograde? So I don't know about you guys, but my electronics have absolutely shit out. Like, I'm having troubles with them. So I'm still trying to adjust some stuff here. Okay. Yeah, that's better. Not really. I'm like all white. Anyway. Maybe that might work. It's weird. My camera is both camera. Okay. La la la. Husband cracked an egg with a double yolk. I have no idea if that means something spiritually. I think that's more like Wiccan pagan. I'm actually not too sure about that one, but hey, that's a bonus. Okay, so if you guys have never joined me on one of these, it's pretty simple. If you have a question, just ask. There's not a lot of weirdos like me that you can't ask, so ask away. I don't read people on these, but if you guys have questions, like I said, by all means, just ask. Let's see. When a stone like black tourmaline breaks, what do you do with the pieces? Actually, Amy, you leave them there. Yeah, you leave them there. It literally took a hit for you for a reason, and I would leave the pieces where they lie. Absolutely, leave the pieces where they lie. Let's see here. Like a guy and see signs of him all the time. Does that mean anything? Can I manifest the wrong person? No, you can't manifest the wrong person, because if they're not ready, they're just not ready. So, but no, not necessarily. I mean, the biggest thing is that I always have to tell the ladies, I'm like, quit self-sabotaging it so much and let the guy lead once in a while. Okay. Michelle says that she's seeing black feathers on a hike. Black feathers always mean change or transition. That's usually where that's at. So change or transition is coming. That's usually what that means. And it doesn't always mean bad change or like a bad transition either. It just simply means change. How to ground in cold weather? That's a good question, Camden. Couple ways. Number one, black, any black or red crystals really help, especially wearing them on the left side. There are grounding mats. We sell those at Awakenings. Those are really excellent to use. I like to use those in the wintertime, especially sitting on them. But technically what you want to do is plug it in. It's like a mat of shungite, basically, and it helps you to ground. So you can put your bare feet on that mat as well, when we have sheets and stuff like that too. So, and another one is to, eat your root vegetables, spend time in the basement. And then, like I said, the other thing is putting your back up against a tree. So, but all of those are really good things that you can do to ground. Yeah, if the tourmaline breaks, you can leave. I would leave it there and just get new tourmaline. Absolutely. So Amy, what does it mean when you get positive signs and head in a new direction, and then you start getting negative signs? Why are they conflicting? Probably because you're asking spirit to make your decisions for you. And that's going to be a false read, because remember, spirit can't tell you what to do. They can only give you the best possible outcome, but they can't tell you what to do. And a lot of times when you have to make a really big decision, your spirit guides are freaking dead silent. You're like, I'm not getting any answers. I'm like, because they can't answer it. You have to make decisions for yourself. No one can affect your free will. Nobody can. So that's why I'm like, and that means like all galaxies, like nobody can affect your free will. So you kind of have to figure that out for yourself. Had a Reiki session. She said that she saw dragons around me, meaning usually dragons are like symbolic of being a pretty powerful light worker, or somebody who is here to help, the masses of humanity, stuff like that. So what are you doing? You wanted to be in the picture, I guess. Cramps on the right leg. A lot of times the right side it's kind of an indicator that, you're living in fear and that you need to move forward or step forward. Especially with a job or a relationship that needs to be changed. Let's see. Life path is 11 too. Mine is 2. Is the 11 every day? Is there a connection? Not really, Andrea, because once you go through a spiritual awakening, the first numbers that you're going to see usually are your birthday, and then you're going to start to see 1111. And then after that, shortly after that, you'll see like 3s, 6, 9s, and 12s. And then you'll see combinations like 911, 611, 311. And you'll see replicating numbers every day for the rest of your life. You just will. So your job is to figure out what those mean for you. If you go to my website, psychickelli.com, go underneath my blog. I wrote about what those numbers mean and several different versions of that. Because like, for instance, the number 2 means something. When I say 222, it means something different for me than it does my husband. So you have to figure out what that means for you. So, but like I said, once you see 1111, you'll see all the other replicating numbers shortly after that. So, can you meditate eyes open? Absolutely, I do. So sometimes I have my eyes closed, sometimes I have my eyes open. Depends. So there is no right or wrong way to meditate. As long as you're able just to sit and chill for a little bit, that counts. So I think a lot of people have to, do all these rituals and all these things. And I'm like, you really don't have to. So a lot of times I first started, I was meditating in my car. So there's nothing wrong with that. As long as you get your peace of mind, that's pretty much all you need to do. I mean, you're not going to be able to sit there and think of nothing. That's not how it starts. So if your job is just to sit there for 10 to 15 minutes and be bored, that's a win right there. After a while, you'll learn how to control your brain, but that takes time, and people are not patient. They want instant gratification, and that's not the case with meditation. It takes a long time. It really does. So, can you give my name for a psychic surgeon? I'm sorry, Tessa. I don't believe in psychic surgeons at all. I don't. So I don't believe in them. So, when I pray for healing for some people, I feel heat in my hands. Lori, that's great. That just means to tell me that you're a natural healer. And I would look into maybe some possible Reiki classes or stuff like that. About the ringing in the ears. Cindy is asking about the ringing in the ears. So basically what happens is we all have an aura or an auric field, right? So when our spirit guides or angels or loved ones come in that auric field, it causes dissonance, not resonance in our ear, dissonance. So as a result, we get this like backlash. So you ever go up to like you're listening to a speech and that damn microphone goes, right? Well, that's exactly what's happening. It's not necessarily that they have anything to say. They are just letting you know we're here, like what you need. So, and a lot of people don't understand that when they show up, they're literally saying, hey, what do you need? Or stop worrying about something because we got your back. So it's not necessarily that they have anything to say. They just want to let you know that they are there. So a lot of times when I know my spirit guides are around, I'm like, hey, thanks for helping me out, but I got something else for you. So that's why I think a lot of people should know what your goals, ambitions, and dreams are. So that way, when they're around, you can say, hey, need a little help. So that way you know exactly what to ask for. Because remember, they can't make your decisions for you, but they can absolutely help you on your path as far as, guiding you and kind of lighten up some signs for you. That's their job. And they love to do it. You're not ever going to overwhelm them or talk to them too much or annoy them or bother them. Remember, we're human. They're not. So that's a different constraint. So don't ever have to worry about that. Yeah. Camden's asking, I believe you mentioned in another video, spirit guide will answer a question in your head quicker. It will. It's almost just like you can ask the question in your head, but before you even get the question out in your head, you already have an answer. So it truly does feel like you're talking to yourself. That's what it feels. That's how they start out, because they're not going to start out talking to you in their voice in your head. It would freak you the hell out. And they are never going to put fear in their communication or when they show up. Now, they might be startling. I mean, don't get me wrong. We're not used to seeing people and hearing people, but it might be a little startling, but it's not scary. There's a big difference in that. So, and a lot of times, like I said, my guides have always told me that, you know, I'm tapping into their world. They're not coming into mine. So, you know, they're kind of like, you just overheard our conversation. We didn't do that to scare you. I'm like, oh, sorry, my bad. So that's like I said, that's usually how it works, but it's very fast. You're having a conversation in your brain, like faster than you can almost logically go, wait, did I just have a conversation? I'm like, that's how it works. Let's see. Every time I tune in, I feel my spirit team always there. Did they ever leave? No, they don't. So before you chose to incarnate into this world, you made a pact for them to just be there for you, but they're also learning vicariously through you too. So it is mutually beneficial. So, but they don't have other chores or other jobs to do. You got to remember, when you choose to incarnate into this hell, literally, when you choose to incarnate here, you have to be a brave soul to even choose to come here, because of all the negativity, the polarity, and the differences of people. In different galaxies, there's not this big of a difference. I mean, we have religious differences and social differences and skin differences and, you know, male, female, trans differences. We all have differences. So to incarnate into this world and still emit unconditional love and try to figure out what your life purpose is, and try to help people in line, I mean, that's really hard to do. It is very difficult for a soul to choose to come here, but it is the best spiritual growth that you can have in a short amount of time, even though time is irrelevant. So, but it really is. So you have to understand, you have to be one tough cookie to choose to come here. And that's why you're never going to come alone. You're going to bring spirit guides, you're going to bring guardian angels, and your loved ones are going to help out too. So you literally have team spirit back behind you all the time. All the time. That's why I personally do not understand loneliness. I've never been alone. They're always around. So even when I'm quiet, they're like, hey, I'm like, shut up. So, but I have to give boundaries to them just like I do people. So I'm like, don't talk to me at 3 a.m. unless I ask you to. I want to go to sleep. So, I hear birds singing when I meditate with my headphones in. What does this mean? Lisa, that means that your throat chakra is opening up. So most likely you have throat issues, because birds and crickets are actually associated with your throat chakra. So that is probably what's opening up. Okay. The violet flame, there are so many different terminologies for it. Just understand that if you're enlightened, you have a purple aura or a purple crown. And that's really common. A lot of people have that. So, let's see. How does the metaphysical symptoms relate to the particular body part? They just do. It's emotions. So your negative emotions over a long period of time will wreak havoc on the body by putting it into disease, it's not disease is lack of ease. So your negative emotions are the reason why people get sick. Nobody gets sick willy-nilly. Accidents aren't willy-nilly. Nothing in this world is coincidence. Everything is synchronistic. That's how it works. That's how it works. Feel like mediumship are developing, seeing people's faces in the head, getting names and messages, don't know the intended recipient. What am I supposed to do? Amy, I would tell you, start practicing. Like I said, start practicing. You may want to consider Enlightenment Academy. I wrote that program for people like you that have those skills, that are like, okay, what do I need to do with this? How do I help people with this? And what are those signs that I'm getting exactly? And you can find that at my website at psychickelly.com underneath Enlightenment Academy. Middle of the back on the spine pain, Camden, that has everything to do with, usually it's children, or like if you work with kids. So can you ask your higher self to heal your physical body? Absolutely, yes, Lynn. Yes, you can. Absolutely, absolutely. Oh, you did EA. Oh, that's right, you did. Does our North Node help indicate or guide us to our life purpose? I believe that one does, because that's the spiritual center of everything. If I remember my astrology right, that 12th house. Might want to ask an astrologer just to double check me though. But I do believe that, yes. I could be wrong. Like I said, I'm not an astrologer. I know my astrology, but I don't do astrology readings. So stubborn low back pain that doesn't want to heal. Tessa, that has everything to do with you're going to a job that you have to go to because of the money and the insurance, or number two, it's because you don't have any financial support at all. Why do I keep smelling cigarette smoke when I'm asked not to use it as a sign? Because it's most likely a loved one, Dawn. That wouldn't be a spirit guide. Essay, let's see here, blur. Do ghosts and spirits look alike? No, they don't. They're on two different playing fields. So for me, I think purgatory is a ghost. It's somebody who died, didn't check into heaven yet. They're just kind of wandering around. Whereas spirit, depending on what we're talking about, like loved ones as spirit, yes. Spirit guides, angels, yes, they are different. So to me, they're all different kind of levels, if you want to think about it that way. Let's see. If I ask God for a sign and receive it, should I keep my faith and not worry anymore? Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And you got to remember, spirit understands human stupidity and doubt. So it's okay. I've asked spirit before. I'm like, okay, if you're real, prove it. I want to see a purple feather. And it was like 3 or 4 days later, my daughter came up to me and she was like maybe four or five at the time. She's like, look, mommy, I got you this purple feather. I'm like, holy crap. So I did that one time too, where I asked, I'm like, all right, God, if angels are real, I want to see some of those feathers. And I'll never forget, I was getting ready to go to pick up my kids, and there was my car was locked, windows were up, and there was a pile of white feathers in my car. I was like, oh, I'm good. I'm good. I won't ask again. Heather, what I would tell you is that I have lots of recommendations with different mediums, psychics, astrologers, things like that. Just head to my website. It's underneath readings, because I'm not doing readings anymore. I'm retired. I'm retiring. So if you go underneath there, you'll see my list. Let's see here. Is there anything spiritually related to sleep talking and walking? Yes, Catherine. I did that a lot as a child, every once in a while, especially if I don't ground properly after a live audience reading. I will have the tendency to wake up in the bathtub and be like, what the fuck? Or wake up on my couch when I know I went to bed. So that's really common, especially with children that are highly intuitive or neurodivergent, which most neurodivergent people are highly intuitive. Easier anyway. So it's just like learning how to play the piano. Everybody can learn how to be a psychic, but some people are just naturally, it becomes easier for them. Do you choose to be a murderer on earth? No, that's a free will choice. You chose to do that. That's a free will choice. And there are consequences to those choices. You don't necessarily go to hell like every church would say. Usually what ends up happening is that you'll have to reincarnate again, and you're going to be the one that gets killed. So you do unto others as what you would want done to yourself. That's the only golden rule that we have. That's it. You treat somebody like shit, well, in about a month and a half, you're going to get treated like shit the same exact way. So that's karma. And especially if you're enlightened, karma comes faster. So, however, if you're enlightened, you don't have to worry about your past life karmic debt, because that's already been paid. You wouldn't have gone through an awakening in the first place. In the afterlife, if there is no bodies, we are invisible. How do we communicate in the afterlife if they have no bodies? I don't have to communicate to a body. I can just do it telepathically. So you got to remember, when you die, you don't have eyes, ears, or anything else. That's a human constraint. That's not spirit. So I do it telepathically. That's usually the easiest way for me to do it. What do ghosts look like? They're a little bit grittier and darker. They're just heavier. They're heavier because they haven't checked into heaven yet. So like I said, they're just a lot heavier. So let's see. My partner and I have similar dreams. Woke up, we're almost having a conversation. It's been since we came back from a desert soul retreat. That is normal because you guys are astral traveling together. Yeah, absolutely. You are finally healed, Kelsey. Yep. When you can look at an ex or look at something that really used to upset you and it no longer upsets you anymore, that means to tell me that you've worked on that aspect of yourself to heal yourself to where that no longer bothers you. So good job. That's not easy to do. That's a lot of work. That's hard work. That's a lot of hard work. Let's see. What can I do to help my kiddos sleep better? I will tell you what, nobody is sleeping, including kids right now. Even animals aren't acting right. A lot of it has to do with the solar flares. The sun is getting extra frisky, and I don't know, man. It's just extra frisky. So the biggest thing with the kids is get them outside. They need to be grounded. They got to get feet to earth. And I'm fully aware it's getting a little bit chillier outside, but try to get them outside as much as you possibly can, especially in the grass, not the cement. So the other thing is, if you can't get them outside, try to spend some time in a basement. And then the other thing is maybe getting some, black tourmaline and sticking it in between the box springs and the mattress to also help ground them down as well. So usually that'll help out a little bit, and make sure that, especially with enlightened kids, that you're saging the house fairly often. So we want to sage every new moon, which the new moon is probably sometime this weekend. It's coming up. So that's the best time to sage the house. Let's see. When I'm listening to people talk during conversations, I yawn constantly. That is a huge sign, Serena, that they are energy vampires. Absolutely, yes. So again, instead of listening to their conversations, why don't you just get it more like a 10-minute just like, when I got 10 minutes, what you need, and just leave it at 10 minutes. So don't sit there and let them just talk so much. Just be like, hey, I got 10 minutes, what you need. So that way it just shortens up that conversation so they're not draining you so damn much. Grandma thinks I'm doing witchcraft. Oh, bless her heart. You can't explain it. Skinny, you can't explain enlightenment to unenlightened people. You can't. Religion is a guidebook or a rule book on basically put how you should live, and how you should treat other people. Spirituality is actually doing it because you feel it. There's a big difference in that. So no, there really isn't much you can. I can't explain my faith to unenlightened people. They don't understand. And they never will. Unless they go through an awakening themselves, they will not understand. And so you got to remember, you used to be unenlightened too. So the easiest way is just to forgive them and just change the subject. That's what I do, because they can't understand what I can see from my perspective on the mountain that I've climbed. They can't possibly understand what I can see when they are still in the valley with just dirt and rocks. They don't get it. So you just kind of have to just be like, well, bless your heart. And then literally I walk away and I'm like, God, would you please help them? Literally, I put them in a huge bubble of light. And I'm like, God, just help them, because they don't get it. They're not there yet. They're still full of illusion. So yeah. What if somebody yawns when you're talking? It's usually because usually people yawn, it's because they need a kick of oxygen. 9 times out of 10. And then what people don't understand is that when you yawn, you're actually realigning your chakra system. So I don't really mind if people are yawning when I'm talking to them. I watch their body language more than anything else, because if they're talking to me like this, they really want to say something, but they're biting their tongue or they're protecting their throat. So if they're doing that, then they really got something to say, but they ain't saying it in front of me. So then usually I'm going to pull it out of them. So that's where that one usually comes from. I watch their body language. What do I think about grounding mats for winter? I love them. I sell them all the time at Awakenings. I actually have one here. So when I'm working from home, I'll be sitting on one. Can you be psychic and not be enlightened? You can. It's a lot harder. It's a lot more draining. But yeah, you can. I'm trying to move forward and forgive my sister for everything she's done. However, every time my knee flares up, she kicked me and dislocated my kneecap. Everything comes back. You know what, Carol, here's the deal with this one. And I should explain this. When you're healing something, say, for instance, you're healing your uterus because you're working on your issue with your dad, because your dad is a good dad, but he just wasn't very loving and saying, I love you type of stuff, right? So what ends up happening is that when you're aware of why you're having, say, endometriosis is because your dad was a workaholic and you're working on forgiving him with that, what ends up happening is that your period for the next 2 or 3 months gets horrible. Like it's a terrible period. And people are like, what in the hell? I'm supposed to be healing this. I'm like, it is. So it actually gets worse before it gets better. So hang in there. That's why I'm like going, keep forgiving. But in order for it to get back into alignment, it's got to flush out that toxin or whatever it is. So oftentimes it gets a little worse, then it gets better, and then it's cleared up. So I always forget to tell people that because it's true. That's why when I'm helping people with conceiving babies, we have to talk about their daddy issues 9 times out of 10. And then we have to talk about that. And then I'll tell them, listen, you're going to have some pretty bad periods. And when you do, that's a good sign for me, because that means to tell me that your body is then getting into a place of allowance by flushing out the old emotion. So that's a good sign. And then usually about 4 or 5 months later, we could talk babies. We can talk about getting some babies. So let's see. Endometriosis, like I was saying earlier, it really is because your dad was a workaholic or your dad just wasn't there for you, emotionally speaking. He was the protector provider, but he wasn't the huggy type of dad. And as an empath, you need that. And a lot of times then those empaths end up marrying somebody just like their father. So that's important. Is this multi-planet retrograde triggering a lot of people to start their awakening? Yep. The other big push was when COVID hit. So when everything locked down and COVID hit, there was a mass spark of spiritual awakening then. So I think from that, people are just now starting to be like, okay, why do I got to meditate? What the hell's going on? Why am I seeing these 1111s? So that's why I decided to retire from doing individual readings so I could do more Q&As and help you guys understand. Because when I went through my spiritual awakening over 15 years ago, I had nobody to talk to. Nothing was on the internet. I didn't know why I was seeing 1111. I didn't know why I was feeling batshit crazy. So I just promised myself that if I ever find another person like that, I'm going to help them. So, and now it seems like there's more and more people going through this awakenings, which I'm so excited. I love it. So, because, things need to change and we're all on the same team now. So I'm excited about it, but I just promised myself that, if I could figure out what was going on, I was going to help the next person in line. So, do I believe in the ghost apps on your cell phone? You know what? They're getting better. Some of them are getting pretty good that I've seen. So yeah. Some of them are they read EVPs just like a voice recorder would. So yeah. How do we protect ourselves from others' astral projection in your home? That's a really good question, Cindy. What I would do for that one is either go outside and do literally a circle of salt outside your house and saying, no one is allowed in my home without my permission. So, and that you could say people or spirit. So you can specify that. So you're putting up a boundary just like you would with a person. It's no different. So that's what I'm like, I tell spirit, I'm like, do not bother me unless I ask them, do not bother me between 2 and 4. I don't do readings in my home. My home is my home. I'll do readings at work. I don't do them here. So, because again, boundaries, they're people too. They're just without a body, but you ain't talking to me at 2 a.m. No. So no, thank you. So I don't want to talk to your dead relatives. I'd rather go to sleep. So, how do you work through childhood trauma done from both parents that I have no contact with by choice? First of all, you made the right decision not to have any contact. Good job. That's hard in itself. The other thing is get a counselor. So, and I'm telling you, when you start doing shadow work, that ain't no joke. That's no joke. So a lot of times, I'm encouraging people to get counselors because you're talking about some deep rooted trauma that you're going to be digging up. And you're going to open up Pandora's box and these skeletons are going to come flying out of the closet. And you got to know how to kind of duck and weave and take one skeleton at a time and not be overwhelmed. So that's why I'm like, yeah, let's make sure that we do get a counselor. If you live in a condo, I would still do the circle of salt outside. But then I would make sure that I put black tourmaline in the 4 corners of my apartment. So that way, nobody from above or below or the sides can come in. Any tips to prepare for hypnosis? Yeah, trust your hypnotherapist. Trust your hypnotherapist that they're going to do the right job for you. So let's see. Night a custodian in elementary school, see shadows and silhouettes all the time. Any crystals to protect? So yes, Brianna, I would say get some black tourmaline. Black tourmaline is the #1 crystal outside of black obsidian to protect you from negativity. Absolutely. And that means negative vibes. That means negative spirit. That means negative people. So excuse me, kitty. Pardon me. Do you mind? God, look here, look at my butthole. No, I don't want to look. Move on, weirdo. Animals are weird. So, let's see. Woke up from a dream with what felt like my root chakra spinning. What was that? SA, you may not have gotten back into your body in time. So sometimes when you don't get back in your body in time, your root chakra or your solar plexus feels kind of weird. So that very well, most unlikely what was going on. So I know. Do cats just do that? Do they just they're like, here, look at my brown star. No, I don't want to look at, I would rather look at your face. Thank you very much. Why do they do that? Are they protecting me? I'm going to protect you. No, not that way. Weirdo. And now he's look at this. Like, here, I'm going to show you this. He is sitting on my backpack. I don't know. So it must be a cat thing. I don't know. He's been sleeping on my feet at night. I know what he's doing. He's grounding me down so I don't go astralan, but whatever. Horrible dreams about abusive mother. How can I stop it? Sue Ellen, just ask God to just have that stop. Just like, hey, I'm working through this. I would rather not dream about it at night. Thank you very much. So just ask God. It'll stop. So I think a lot of people forget to ask God for what it is that you need. And by the way, spirit doesn't say God. That's a human constraint. Spirit usually says source or source or creator. So every time I talk with your relatives or my spirit guides or anybody else or team spirit back over here, they always say the creator. So source or the creator, that's what they usually said. And I'm like, well, can I still say God? They're like, yeah, that's just a human constraint. Go ahead and say it. We know what you mean. I'm like, okay. So thoughts on palm readers? Well, my best friend is one. So I like palmistry and numerology and astrology because it's a little bit more logical and a little bit more like, I don't know, maybe firm. It's not like a guessing game. It is it's more factual. So I'll tell you that. So my best friend is Shannon Kinsey, and she does palmistry readings a lot. And she also does palmistry parties too. So, and she's on my reference page. If you go to my website, she's underneath readings. That's where she's at. So, but yeah, it's actually really surprising. Your palms change every 2 weeks. And so with me getting ready to retire, she's like, let me see your palms. I'm like, she's like, see this and see this. I'm like, yeah, okay. I need my glasses. But, so she's explaining it to me, but with me, like I said, with me, being able to retire, getting ready to retire, she's just really keeping an eye on my hands because she wants to see how they change. So she's been doing it for 3 years, 4 years. Yeah, she's good. Saw a white light outside my window, moved up and down, did through the window. SA, usually that's going to be a loved one. So that did happen to me one time. The girls, and I say the girls, so my daughter's 19, my stepdaughter's 19. They're a month apart. We were sitting up here. I was sitting over there on the couch. Paige was next to me, and the cat was there, and then Haley was there. And we were talking, and we were saying something about spirit. And earlier that day, I was just having a bad day. And I'm like, hey, Dad, I could really use a sign. And all of a sudden, we were just talking about spirit, and they were talking about some abilities and things like that. And there was a white ball of light that went right in front of my face, and I could see it, but I didn't think the girls could see it. But Paige was like, what is that? And it looped around the cat, and the cat was like this, went like that, pat, pat, pat. And then it went around Haley, and then it went back around Paige and back right out that window. And now, mind you, my house is Fort Knox. If they are for my highest good, they can come in. Otherwise, they are not allowed. And so the girls right away were like, wait, what was that? I'm like, you guys saw that? And they're like, yeah, we saw it. And I'm like, I didn't think they could, because again, I'm clairvoyant. So I didn't think they could do it. And they said, yeah, what was that? It was like a white ball of light. And I go, I know who that was. And they're like, who? I'm like, well, that was my dad. And they're like, what do you mean? So my dad died at the age of 45 when I was 20 years old. So my kids don't know anything about him. And weirdly enough, that day, Paige had mentioned something about him, and Haley was saying something about her dad, and then grandpa's, and said, oh, well, Paige will never know, her grandpa. And I'm like, yeah. So it was just strange. Well, it's not strange, but I asked for the sign. They both spoke about him in different times throughout the day, and then he showed up. So, and I will tell you, it doesn't matter how long they've been gone. If you ask them to give you a sign, they will. They will. So, doesn't matter. So, but it really is. It's like I said, it was about the size of a softball. So it's pretty cool. And I've seen those before, but yeah. Can you have a second awakening? This is where it gets kind of weird. Usually what happens is if you go through an awakening, you usually like plateau out. It's like your volume just kind of stays there, and then you kind of go back up. But all of us were born enlightened. Society, parents turned us off or down. And then we started to go through a spiritual awakening. We got turned back on. So that's basically what happened. But for us adults, I'll say yes. For children, no. Children aren't tapping out anymore. So they're staying enlightened. And that's why you're seeing so many kids having so many emotional issues. I'm like, they're sensitive as shit. They're like, it's like spending 8 hours a day at Walmart when you're in school for them. So it's really difficult. That's why society has to start changing. So we're going to start coming together and changing the rules, because the rules are no longer applicable to those kids coming in. And that means, like I said, politics, healthcare, school systems, even the food is shit. So everything's going to have to start changing, but we need to come together as a community to change that, because nobody's going to come in and save us. No, I mean, everybody has a savior complex. Nobody's coming to save you. We need to do it together as a team. And I think that a lot of people forget about that. They're like, oh, well, I don't need to do much because somebody's going to come save me. No, they're not. No, they're not. So let's see. Will a sleep aid prohibit you from connecting spiritually during sleep? No, not necessarily, Stacey, because I mean, if you need to astral travel and take a time out, you'll still be able to do that in a dream state. You just won't remember it. That's all. So, studying numerology. I'm an 11 too. I'll tell you that. So my birth date it adds up to 29. So I'm an 11 too. And then my name it's Kelli Miller Apps. So that's my name, but my birth name was Kelly Ann Hansen. So that was my birth name. Do animals give signs? Abso-freaking-lutely. Absolutely. Let's see. With closed eyes, saw different light patterns up close. Doorknob, Alice in Wonderland. Door opened slowly, immediately, overwhelming feeling of peace, love, comfort. Ooh. That's good, Hillary. That means to tell me that so that's kind of what I see when I'm getting ready to read somebody. It's like, I just, in my mind's eye, I see this door and it opens. And I know when the door is open, we're going to talk to everybody. So it's never a problem. If I see the door, I'm like, I'm in. So, and you'll hear me say that once I touch you, even I'm in. That door opens. So it's weird. I think it's literally the veil. So some people say that they see a veil or a curtain. I see a door. So you see the door too. So you're going to see one of either. So, and it really means that your clairvoyance or your ability to see spirit. But remember, seeing spirit, you're going to see spirit not necessarily with your eyes. No, that's more like the 10%. You're usually going to see them as pictures or images in your head. So same with, talking to spirit. It's going to feel like it's in your head. It's not going to be in your ears. So don't expect it to be. Once in a great, like I said, 10% of the time, you might hear it in your ears. You might hear somebody say slow down or stop or something like that. But 90% of the time, it is going to be in your head. And you're just like, why is this person keep coming to my brain? I'm like, there's a reason. So I've just learned to say it out loud. So that way, when I that way I can connect the dots a little bit later. So many weird dreams this last month. Yeah, same. A lot of people have been having batshit crazy dreams right now. And we've all had crazy dreams since that damn solar flare. So like I said, and the sun is still feisty as shit. So I'm like, what wasn't going to slow down or what? Geez Louise. But it just keeps getting faster. So it's, or feistier. Found 2 quarters slightly overlapping, both heads up, random rock today. Does it mean anything? That means that you found money. Or if you continually find that same money the same way, that could be a loved one. So let's see. Yeah, heard somebody say my name 3 times outside of my head. Nobody was there. Lisa, that's your spirit guide. When they first make initial contact, they're going to say your name. Let me give you the perfect example. I was 19 years old living in my apartment, and I remember sitting up and just closing my eyes because I didn't want to see anybody, but I knew somebody was there. And I said, if you are for my highest good, you can stay. And I heard, okay. And then I heard Kelly. And I heard it audibly. And then I said, say it again. And I heard Kelly. And I'm like, and then I thought, I didn't say this. I thought, well, if you really knew me, then you know my middle name, Kelly Ann. I was like, that's when I shut my shit down. So at 19 years old, I shut my abilities down because I didn't understand what that was or who was talking to me or what was going on. And I knew for sure they'd stick me in the damn loony bin at that point. So it wasn't until after I got married and had Steven that I remember saying, okay, God, I remember what happened that day. I'm an adult now. Go ahead and turn it back on. It's okay. I'm an adult. I'll figure it out. Turn it back on. Oh boy, did it ever. Oh boy, did it ever. I was seeing weird shit like immediately. That's when I started to go through my spiritual awakening. And that's what I'm saying is that Steven he's 17 years old. So that, like I said, that was a long time ago when I started to go through my awakening, and there was nothing online. I couldn't talk to anybody. I knew nothing. I didn't know what was going on other than I literally felt like I was going crazy. I felt like I was having a midlife crisis. And, you know, my husband at the time, I ended up leaving him for another guy because I got to a point where I couldn't even stand the way he was breathing. And it wasn't even his fault. He didn't do anything, but I didn't know what I was going through. And he'd probably attest that I went batshit crazy. Well, I kind of did. So, because I didn't know what was going on at the time. I had to forgive myself a long time ago for not knowing any better. I didn't know. And that's why I want to help people out, especially you guys, just because I don't want anybody to feel like I was ostracized, like I really was. And I don't want anybody to feel that way. So I don't have fear of rejection anymore. I'll tell you that. So, like kids and I constantly hear people walking up and down the stairs, doors closing. That is not a spirit guide. So that spirit guides don't do that. That sounds like a ghost. So I would highly suggest we sage. That sounds more like a ghost than anything else. So usually loved ones might move stuff once in a while to be funny, haha, but they're not gonna, kitty, they're not gonna do that. Would you get what? I'm busy. You can sit there, that's fine, but I'm busy. I know. I'm not gonna, I can't pet you right now. I'm busy. Oh, fine. So, trying to connect with my highest self or spiritual guides, don't get it. What can I do you can't, Monica, you can't force it. And I'll tell you, if you're trying really, really hard, you're not in a place of allowance to receive it. So I'm like, I will tell you, distract yourself. Think of something completely different. And all of a sudden, woohoo, they just start showing up. They will. So it's no different than when I was trying to get my clairvoyance to get turned on. I kept saying, well, I was doing everything to get my third eye open. And finally, my spirit guides are like, let me give you some advice. I'm like, please. And they said, why don't you master what you already know? What advice is that? Master what I already know? I want to know clairvoyance. And they're like, well, you know what? So what I ended up doing was I was like, screw it. So I didn't even think about it for like 2 days. And then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I got to figure out how the clairaudient works and how the claircognizant works and how all the other things work. And within about 2 weeks, sure as hell, here came the clairvoyance when I wasn't thinking about it. It's because I needed to get myself in a place of allowance. So basically I had to distract myself from myself. So you need to distract yourself from yourself. Sounds weird, but that's how you do it. Help with seeing auras. I did a video on that one. So, you know, when you stare at something and your eyes go like cross-eyed, you know, and you're like, they kind of go blurry. That's what you want to do. So you want to do that. Let your eyes go blurry and look about 2 inches above somebody's head, and then you'll begin to see their aura. Eardrums vibrating like somebody's doing Morse code in both ears. Ooh, Jess, that means to tell me your third eye is open. Third eye and your throat are open a little bit too far. So we want to ground, open up the root chakra, whatever it takes to do the root chakra. So, and like I said, you can even listen to music that will help you to open up your root chakra. So it just means to tell me that you're balanced. So your root chakra and sacral chakra is probably pretty weak. Whereas your third eye and throat are probably on like fire. So we got to get you balanced out. Doing good journey on spiritual journey, hit a depression stage. I'm having a hard time coming out of it. Melanie, a lot of people are this month. Hang in there. So that's what I'm like, I have been saying that if you have mental health issues, depression, bipolarity, anxiety, any of those, it is going to be a difficult month for you unless you were born in a retrograde. So, but it's going to be a really hard month for you this month. And I want to sit there and say it's not your fault, because the energy is very intense and it's really shining a light. It's really shining a bright light right now on the dark aspects of yourself. So that's why it's just like, it's really hard to get out of that. So the biggest thing I'm going to tell you is when it comes to your depression is that make sure that you know what your goals are. Sounds like you might have hit quite a few goals and then all of a sudden you just kind of stopped. So recheck your goals. So whenever we go into that phase, it's like we're going full steam ahead and then whoop, something stops us. We go back to the basics. Clean your house, recheck your goals, especially the short-term goals, and then learn something new. And go back to meditation. Like I said, go back to your basics when you feel stuck. It's like you got to start from square one and go back up again. I heard Moon, when meditating, saw 3 crystals brought up to face. What is that? I have no idea. I have no idea what that means. Let's see. Had a dream I could actually smell what I was dreaming. Ooh, that's good, Mary. That means to tell me that your clairgustance is turned on, or clairalient, which is the taste of smell and taste. That's good. Feel tingling on my head when I'm pulling oracle cards, images in my mind's eye when I'm meditating. What should I focus on? You focus on what's in your head. Focus on those images that just pop in there. So whenever I'm reading people, I feel like I get paid to use my imagination all day. All I do is just repeat whatever the hell pops into my head or whatever I hear. That's it. That's it. And people are like, how'd you know that? I'm like, I don't know. I just repeated what was in my head. Hell if I know. So talking with my daughter about emotional struggles. Literally 5 minutes, large hawk landed on a tree and looked at me. Felt like it was looking into your soul. That's what hawks do. When you're talking about spiritual things, or when you're helping another person with spirituality, hawks and owls will show up. So they'll show up. Sister having crows come around her a lot lately. Is that her spirit animal? Absolutely. Crows can be. Crows always symbolize change. So a murder of crows, yeah. Death and birth always means transition. That's what it means. It doesn't mean somebody's going to die, but it means change. So that means to tell me that she enjoys change or she's resistant to change, one of the two. How do you ground in the winter months? I just discussed this. And like I said, grounding mats, going downstairs to the basement, eating root vegetables, and listening to anything, any sort of music that might be with your root chakra. Let's see, anxiety, impulsive behavior. Kaya, I would tell you, I want you to deal with your dad. Deal with the issue with your father. So most than likely, he was never there for you, or he's a narcissistic prick. So work on forgiving him. Oh, fun. So, but anxiety can also be taught by your mother or your father. So it can also be taught. But anxiety is somebody who's always worried about the future. I'm like, who cares? You can't control it anyway. All you can do is react to it. That's it. So that's it. I don't play the what if game. What if, I don't play what if. I don't play the what if game because nothing good comes of it anyway. It's a waste of time, energy, and effort. Can an owl be a spirit animal? Yes, it can. Absolutely. Do we have a gatekeeper? Those are more or less our spirit guides. So when you first cross over, you're going to see what you think you're going to see. So if you think you're going to see the Golden Gate, you're going to see the Golden Gates. If you think you're going to see a tunnel of light, you're going to see a tunnel of light. If you think that you're going to see Jesus, you're going to see Jesus. So whatever you think you're going to see, you're going to see. And then that's when your loved ones are like, hey, how you been? You're like, hey, about time. So like I said, they're going to be there. So same with your spirit guides and your guardian angels as well. Sister wakes up with scratches on her, hears growls. You need more than just sage, Skinny. So, and number 2, I would like to know where or who is bringing it in, because negative spirits like that have to be invited in. Many times, if there is somebody who's unenlightened that works, like say at a bar, and then they come home, they'll bring something home. So somebody around her is very negative, and she's allowing that negativity in her space. So like I said, demons and things like that don't just show up willy-nilly. No. They have to remember, nothing can affect your free will. Nothing. But if you're being a crazy alcoholic who's just partying all the time, well, that's how you get negative entity attachments. So haven't you ever noticed that if you drink too much, you're not yourself? And then sometimes you can't even remember what happened when you drink too much. You really think that was you? Why do you think they call alcohol spirits? Your body gets so toxic that your soul squirts out a little bit and somebody else comes on in to have a joyride. That's why you feel like shit the next day and you can't function. Not necessarily the alcohol, honey. So that's like, be very, very careful with alcohol, especially. Yeah, I got all 3. Dad wasn't there. He said F me once, never heard from him again, tried to forgive, but I get angry. You know what, Kia? I would tell you, look at how he was raised, honey. Look at how he was raised. He sounds like a complete and utter narcissist. So his mother must have spoiled him rotten, or his mom died early and wasn't able to teach him unconditional love. Either way, you understand unconditional love. It's sad that he doesn't, and he never will, and you can't teach it to him. So best thing is to put up a boundary, wish him well, and move on. And I'm not saying that's just going to happen overnight either. That shit hurts. So, and you're angry because you want him to feel what you feel. And a narcissist can do no wrong. So without fault, how are they supposed to feel anything different? They won't. And it won't matter what you do, say, or to do anything to get it different. So like I said, just let him go. Let him go, because it's not going to be any different. So, and it's not you. It's not you. It's him. Don't take it personal. Hard not to, but don't. How to get better intuition? Meditate. Meditate. That is baseline foundation 101. Meditate. I discussed that in Enlightenment Academy too. It's like, if you're not willing to meditate, then I could teach you, but you're not going to get it, because you have to go through the steps. You got to crawl before you can run, right? So that's the first step. Meditate. You got to learn how to calm your mind, because in between the gaps of thought is where then that's where a spirit can start talking to you. Heart failure, retaining fluid. Heart failure is grief. Grief. That's all grief. That's what that is. So, and I would be curious to know if they have heart failure and they have grief, they very well could have failure to thrive, meaning that they're like, what's the point of me even being here? My soulmate's gone. Why do I need to be here? So that's failure to thrive. Camden sees white flashy things. Those are angels. Yep, those are angels. Yep, I'm right. His mom left him at his dad's doorstep. Oh, that's a hard one. Yep. Always felt bad for him, tried to create a relationship. Like I said, that's his issue. He has a serious abandonment issue with his mother. And that's why I'm like, he will never understand unconditional love. And he will not like women because he's personally angry at his mother. And you are continuing the chain by being angry at him. So you need to break that chain and learn how to forgive him with love instead. See your purpose? See why you picked him as a father? Because he's the opposite of you. That's why you picked him. Now you got to forgive him for it. Damn it. That's hard. Best books for metaphysical learning. I have that on my website underneath the references tab. So I've got people, and then I have books too. I got lots of books. Had a dream, was about to be killed, woke up, many eyes staring at me, head, thought only things the highest good in my room, everything instantly disappeared. Any thoughts? Karen, you very well could have remembered how you died in a previous life. And that is very difficult on a soul. So a lot of times we will have issues with that when we remember. So my guess is you probably felt that from a previous life, or that was you in a previous life. I keep bumping into things. Catherine, I do too. Everybody's coordination is off, and that's because our root chakras aren't on. So if you're uncoordinated, your root chakra needs to, it's not open, it's closed. So I have the same problem. So any advice when performing Reiki for those in hospice? No. All they need, you're kind of, if you're working on them when they're in hospice, you're a placeholder. So your job is, Amber, so your job is to be that placeholder. So that way, when they transition, it's just simple and there's no fear. There's no fear. So where are my cats all over me lately? I was just saying that. I'm like, my cat won't leave me alone. I mean, like, he will not leave me. I mean, he's at the end right there. He's right there. He's watching what Eric's doing, but he is up my ass. Like, he won't leave me alone. And it's like, and he's never been like that. You have to remember, I adopted him, and he's just like kind of a loner cat. Like, he'll come get some love when he wants love. He has been so needy lately. So I really, he's been needy since the solar flare. So I'm just, and I'm talking to other from my friends too, and they're like, yeah, my cats are just like weirdly on me. I'm like, I have 2 little dogs and a cat, and they all have to sit next to me when I sit down on the couch, like literally sit next to me. I'm like, I have no elbow room. I'm like, give me some space. Whoa. Feel spirit strongly on my face and over eyes and third eye. It may not be spirit. It just very well could be, like I said, you can feel your auric field too. So it might be something like that too, but it could be. Work in healthcare, so many patients with heart failure right now. It's heartbreaking. Yep. So there's whenever there's so many retrogrades like this, there's a lot of people that are going to go home, and I mean, they're just going to cross over. So there's a big transition point right now where a lot of people who will not be going through a spiritual awakening in this life, they're just tapping out. They're going home. And a lot of people are going home early. They're like, I'm not going to stick around for this shit show. I'm out. So that's why you're seeing a lot of babies being born and a lot of people crossing over. But there's not as many babies being born as there is people crossing over. But there's a lot of new souls coming in, like that have never incarnated on Earth before. So there's a lot new ones coming in, and they're actually kind of fighting up there. So there's about, like, for every 1 soul available, there's like 6 spirit that wants to kind of take over. So it's kind of like, it's kind of a fighting game. I mean, when we came in, we're like, which ones you want? So you can kind of choose. And now they're all like, we're not having as many babies. So they're kind of having a fight a little bit. So may the best man win. Yeah. I'm like, what do they do? Like, that's what I was trying to ask my spirit guides. I'm like, okay, I understand that, but what are they gonna do? Rocks, paper, scissors? Whoever loses doesn't get to come. Like who? How does that work? And they're like, oh, don't worry about it. I'm like, but I'm curious. My guides are always like, don't worry about it. But I am worried. I'm not worried. I'm just asking. So, hang on 1 second. Let me ban somebody. Damn it. Wait 1 minute. Issues. Come on. Why are you not working? Hang on. Okay. Went to doctor today. Blood pressure was high. Is it because we're crazy energy? It could be, but watch your anger / anxiety too. So, but yeah, it could be this energy right now. And until we get to Monday, I'm going to feel better. How about that? Like I said, I don't know what's up with this weekend, but it's just not easy. So, spent years healing family trauma. Trusted recently put my son in danger while babysitting. Population, will I ever get answers to what happened? Yes, but you have to give that one some time. You will get some answers. But the biggest thing is, I don't want you holding on to that resentment. because that's where right breast cancer comes, or excuse me, left breast cancer comes from. And you know, that's really going to ding on the way that you trust people. So, but like I said, work on forgiving them and then yourself for not seeing it. So you wouldn't have seen it. Let's see. When you go through a spiritual awakening on Earth, when we die, will we still get to reunite? Michelle, will get promoted. So if you're going through a spiritual awakening, this will be your last time here on Earth. So we get promoted. So I was asking that too about my spirit guides, and they said, no, you can choose to be a spirit guide. You can choose to go into a different galaxy and reincarnate again if you want. Or I'm like, sweet. So I said, so we get to choose, and they said, you still have free will up here too. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. So, does your own auric field move like vapor and shiny around you? Yep. Can people get off track or align with their soul's path purpose? Absolutely. And that's what spirit guides are for, because it's a general path, right? We have our contract before we incarnate here. We have a general path basically put. It's their job to kind of keep us on the path. We have free will, so we can kind of do this and wiggle. But if we ditch it, they're all like, oh shit, let's help her out here. And let's give her a bunch of signs so she can get her ass back up on the path and keep going. So that's the main thing, is that it's fairly broad and general, but it's their job to kind of keep us on the path and guide us. But it's like I said, it's not their job to tell us what to do. They cannot give you, they can't tell you what to do with your life. They cannot make decisions for you. That's illegal. So they can't. That's why a lot of times you're like, well, you're asking for help and there's nobody there. And you're like, what the hell? Like, and then you make the decision, and then they're like, hey, how are you? And you're like, oh, now you go show up. Where were you last month when I needed you? And they're like, hey, we couldn't affect your free will, so we decided to ditch it for a little bit so that way you could figure your shit out. I'm like, well, aren't you supposed to be next to me? And they're like, well, we just weren't saying anything because you needed to decide for yourself. I'm like, oh, that's crap. I'm like, you could have given me a hint. And they're like, no, we couldn't have. Thoughts on crystal stone deodorant? Oh, I use those. Those are great. Losing weight, don't feel any better physically. What am I doing wrong? Nothing if you want to lose weight. Usually if you're losing weight and you don't feel anything different, 9 times out of 10, it's usually because you're putting up proper boundaries and you're not over empathizing with people anymore. So that's a good thing. It's a good thing. Are you considered an old soul if you're going through a spiritual awakening? No, not necessarily, because there's some crystal kids going through spiritual awakenings too, and they're not old souls. So I'm an old soul. That's why I know a lot of weird shit. It's because I'm remembering it from all my previous lives. But you know an old soul when you meet them. You'll even hear parents say, oh, wow, my son's an old soul. I'm like, yep. And then there's other ones that are just goofy as shit, and they can barely, keep their feet on the ground because they're walking on their tippy toes and la, la, la. I'm like, yeah, that's a new soul. So you could definitely tell the difference. Let's see. If we have to figure out free will, then what's the point of a guide? To give us signs and signals and to, like I said, generally guide us on our big path. So, because like I said, we have a wide path. It's general. It's their job to keep us on the general path. So that way, like I said, if we ditch it, well, they're going to light up some signs for us to get back up on that path. So how do you tell the difference between your aura field and your spirit guides? There is a big difference. So that's a big, big difference, because your auric field is attached to you. Whereas spirit guides have their own auric field, their own bodies, spiritual bodies. Do they give constant signs? No, they don't. So sometimes you'll get them and other times you won't. So remember, you got to ask for them. But I always have to tell people, ask God for what it is that you need. Don't ask spirit guides, or because us humans like to think that spirit guides maybe are the best person for the job. Well, maybe your grandpa's a little bit better, or maybe your guardian angels are better. So that's why I'm like going, well, us humans aren't smart enough to know who we should ask for what. So just ask God for what it is that you need. And I think a lot of people forget to ask. They forget to ask. I'm like, no, you've got to ask. So don't assume, don't expect, but ask. That's the first ground rule thing you want to do. Will spirit guides speak through other people? They will. Absolutely. So you'll turn around like the McDonald's line and somebody will say something. You're just like, that's exactly what I needed to hear. I'm like, yeah, because they felt compelled to tell you that. That's why. What's a crystal kid? There's 3 different types of intuitive children or intuitive people. There's indigos, which is me, which is you don't tell me what to do. There's crystal kids who are a little bit more sensitive. They have a lot of allergies, and they're like the Einsteins. They are here to rebuild what I'm here to destroy. And then there's the newest ones are the rainbow kids coming in. They're like peace-loving little hippies with no fear, no fear. So, but yeah, so that's them. But I did that. I did a YouTube video on that one as well. So that's my good thing to subscribe to my YouTube channel because I still spit out quite a few different things. Let's see. I just said I want signs out loud. Is that okay? No, I will tell you, I talk to spirit out loud all the time because I want them to know that I'm talking to them and I don't want any miscommunication, I guess, in my head. So I always say it out loud. And if I see a sign from him, I'm always making sure that I acknowledge it. Oh, I saw that. Thank you. I got that. Thank you. So the biggest thing that spirit has always told me that you can tell us thank you, but do not praise us. Only the creator is to be praised, not us. I'm like, got it. So I think I'm going to end it there because my throat is starting to get itchy. So I'm going to end it there. I'm doing a lot of different things here. So I'm doing a couple more Q&As here next week. And I know that Wednesday, I'm having a huge live crystal sale on Awakening's Facebook page. And that's there's all the stuff from Denver. And so we just got back from the Denver Gem Show. I've been unloading 6 pallets of crystals. So I have specific crystals set aside that are not on the floor. They are not going to be sold in the store. So I have them specifically for that sale. So that would be a really good one to tune into. And all you have to do is just on Messenger, just message me your email address and then I'll just send you a bill through PayPal. So pretty easy. So, all right, guys, have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. And like I said, just rest easy this weekend. Really, don't push yourself this weekend. It's very much, we're on a rest mode right now. So just rest, relax, chill. That's the name of the game. Okay, guys? Take care. Have a wonderful weekend.